Am I the asshole here for telling my dad that I don't like his wife after 20 plus years of knowing her? For the first time in my life, I, 28 female, got into a big argument with my dad. For some context, my parents got divorced when I was 5. He almost immediately moved in with her. I lived with my mum, went there every other weekend and half of school holidays. The best moment of the weekend was the drive back and forth, since most of the time, it was only the two of us. The rest of the time was spent with my stepmothers and 2 of her children. To today. My wife and I are buying a house, and I asked him if he could come check it out on Wednesday. His answer was, just trust the estate agent. He doesn't have time because he may watch my stepsister's kids. He watches those kids every fucking week of the year. He's been doing that for years and always complains about how much energy it takes. I felt let down because he rarely has the occasion to show me that he cares. We have a cordial, yet not deep relationship. That was one of the biggest steps in my life, and he didn't even try to be a part of it. I thought maybe he was hurt by the fact that we didn't invite him to our current house, so I told him it wasn't personal, that I had nothing against him, but that I didn't feel like having my stepmother at my place because she's always been mean to me, but he was welcome to come by himself. He refused, got offended that he discovered that I didn't like his wife. Like, open your eyes? She hates on me all the time? He said that I needed to let go of the past, offered to get dinner someday soon to talk it out. I insisted to talk it out on the phone because I didn't feel like seeing him and that it was no conversation to have in a restaurant. Here are some examples of why I can't stand her anymore. Are they exaggerated? Is he right? And should I let go of them? When I was doing ballet, 5 to 6 years old, she would say that I was too fat to dance. She forced me to get my armpits and legs waxed at 10 because she was afraid that me shaving would look bad on her wedding pics. It hurt like hell, by the way, and I still remember how I felt like shit. Didn't like me staying at home doing homework, reading, or playing video games, so I had to go out and hang out with my stepsister's friends. She made homophobic comments about gay marriage whenever she had the chance, after I came out. She encouraged me to sleep with men, in case it turned me straight. I was 14 at the time, and I never told my dad. She called me too fat when I was 16 for a whole summer. She then turned around and called me too skinny at 18. I became super self-conscious of my body and I lost a lot of weight. She undermined all my successes, especially school-related ones. She talked behind my back a lot to other family members. She would always disagree with me about everything. She would spend whole dinners talking about how me being a vegetarian is wrong and stupid. Never said a single wrong word about her son's vegetarian girlfriend, though. She gives me the cold shoulder very often or just acts super cold when I'm around. 23 years knowing her and 1.5 years of therapy later, I finally unloaded what I had to say. My dad thinks he did his best as a dad, that she has nothing against me, and that I'm still in the past. He's now blaming my wife for my changing behavior. I used to be afraid to speak up for myself. I'm not his girl anymore, because I don't smile as much as I used to. I'm done putting up a nice face when I'm being walked all over, thanks. Well, Dad, it's called therapy. Was I wrong? Am I really living in the past? Should I have accepted his invite to talk about it face to face? In the comments, Full Reception says, "You're not wrong. You've had to protect yourself from an openly hostile step monster for far too long. And yes, based on what you've said here, he chose his new family over you. I'm so sorry you've had to go through that. The feeling of exclusion and watching him be happy with them must have been excruciating. Your step-monster is a terrible person, basically bullying you for existing. I don't think that's about you personally at all. It's because you're a reminder of your dad's previous marriage. I wouldn't be surprised if she was the reason your parents split up to begin with." OP says, "Thank you so much for your comment. I needed to hear that. My wife has had my back and been an amazing support, but having outsiders validate your feelings is feeling really good." And for sure she was. My dad even introduced me to her before leaving my mum. Stinky Twigs says, "Not the asshole. I don't feel like you're exaggerating at all. It's not living in the past if a friend did this to you and you refuse to talk to them anymore. You're not living in the past for being validly upset about genuinely hurtful things being said to you repeatedly. Let go of the past is such a bullshit excuse. Does she still treat you like that? If she does, and I'm betting she would, it is not the past. OP says, you're right. She's being more subtle now. I'm not so worried about her anymore with my wife by my side. She has my back and she's ready to take her down in a second. Yeah, I'm gonna go with everyone else here, not the asshole for telling your dad that you don't like his wife. What has she done to be liked? Those two deserve each other. They sound horrible together. And it just kind of sounds like your dad doesn't like you either, but he's putting in any attempt to kind of save face. Like he has an idea in his heart that he's like, I want to like my daughter, and I want to be liked by my daughter. I don't want there to be any animosity, but I also very much agree with my wife about everything she has done to OP, and I support her for that. But I also don't want that creating any negative emotion coming my way. I want no part of that. It just seems like this man wants to have his cake and eat it too, and not have the cake shoved back in his face. Like, no, there are consequences to choosing to marry the devil. And I don't know how OP is still talking to this man after all of that time. Like, does he not love his daughter at all? And now, onto the update. Here's an update since some of you asked for it. I tried to keep it short, but it's not easy. Hope it's not too long. So my big brother texted me yesterday evening asking why I took such a big decision and saying that dad is not doing okay. I called my brother this morning to talk about it. To make a long story short, this is my brother's version. I'm screwing the family dynamic and making things hard on my dad. Therapy is mostly bullshit and I'm just being difficult. My mum complained as well. I've been parentified and finally, a few months ago, felt brave enough to set boundaries. I've not been nice to my dad because I didn't give him my address. A few months ago, my dad asked for my address and said he'd stop by without warning, as he always does. I told him not to do that. I hated it. He brushed it off. I never gave him my address to keep my peace and quiet. I shouldn't have said anything about my stepmother and should think about the consequences it has on the whole family. That my words have been too harsh. My reply, I didn't tell him his wife was a fucking bitch, even though it's my opinion, so no, I haven't been too harsh. It changes everything for everyone. I should be more thankful to my parents. I shouldn't be so hard and let people have their way, or I should have spoken before. Here's my version. I've never been brave enough to talk my truth. Both my brothers have had the chance to live their lives. I was the one behind, taking care of my mum and basically being her parent. I have a right to decide for myself. I can refuse calls after 8 p.m., decide who I want in my home, say no when I don't want things to happen. I needed therapy because I've been complacent with everyone my whole life. I finally deserve a chance to live my own life, and I'm setting my rules. Accept them, don't discuss them, and either stay or leave. After having had my brother on the phone, I decided to call my dad. Apparently, he understood that I didn't want to see him with his wife anymore. What I meant was, I don't want her in my home. I told my dad that my home was my safe space, and I didn't want people I wasn't comfortable around in it. He laughed, said he loved me, but my reasoning was stupid. I told him she hurt me, and I made a list if he wanted examples. He laughed about me making a list. I gave examples, and he excused them all, said I exaggerated. According to him, I was well treated. She didn't beat me or abuse me. I was fed, and she did things for me. He couldn't give me a single example of what she did for me, though. He didn't care about anything on the list from my previous post, and he just brushed it off. Even when I told him that he never defended me, he said I was still his daughter. He loved me, but he wasn't going to see me without his wife, that we would call anyway. He added that his wife has been crying for days about it. Like, What the hell? And he told me that I should have talked to her. I told him that I never felt safe enough to talk to her face to face, but I could call her. Now, should I call her and tell her why I basically hate her? I just can't decide. It would be liberating, and nobody could use the argument, you should be an adult and talk to her directly. But at the same time, it feels weird to call someone and tell them why you hate them. I've always been conflict avoidant, so this is all new to me. In the comments, Tappity Tapper says, do not call her. Think about it. Your dad basically just said that you're full of it and nothing you say, feel, or think has any merit or requires anyone to take seriously. Do you seriously think she'll be different? You won't get closure from others. Closure only comes from within. You cannot force them to see things from your perspective. You cannot even convince them to acknowledge you have one. They cannot even comprehend the fact that your perspective is what your life is lived by and not theirs. Take a deep breath. Think about what you expect from healthy, respectful, and loving relationships. Ask yourself why this is important to you, and then define the consequences you are willing to live with in case of breach. Stepmonsters crying for days is purely performative. Your brother is pissed because with you making healthy boundaries, he's now going to be taking the brunt of your parents' bullshit. Yep, and that's not OP's fault. Everyone has the right to draw healthy boundaries, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Yeah, he can definitely see the writing on the walls, that now those two lunatics are going to focus their rage that they can't get out on OP because they know OP will just block them and remove them from their life. Those two will now hold their tongues and redirect everything at the brother. Because it seems, as I expected, the dad doesn't really like OP. He's just downplaying everything and trying to force his way or the highway onto OP, and that's not going to work. And I don't know where he finds the audacity to think that it's going to work, because sooner or later she's just going to go no contact with him. But I see grim tidings on the horizon for that brother, so best of luck to him. Our next post is by user badwife07, and it's titled, I, 30 female, changed into a Stepford wife. No longer happy with my marriage, but I think it's basically my fault. My husband, 35 male, and I have been together for around 4 years. We have one young child together. I'm not happy in my marriage anymore, and I think it's mostly my fault. I changed a lot over the last few years, especially since becoming a mother, and my husband is the same guy that he's always been. When we were dating, we were sexually adventurous, had threesomes and poly relationships, and basically lived a party life while maintaining respectable professional jobs. I loved that my husband didn't judge me for being very sexually adventurous, as other men had, and he didn't expect me to have a traditional housewife role. He didn't care if I cooked or cleaned, and was fine with having a messy house and eating a lot of takeout. But as I've gotten older and become a mother, I find myself strongly desiring a more traditional lifestyle. I don't have any interest in sex with other people outside of our relationship, and I want our house to be clean and comfortable. And I want to eat healthy, nutritious food. My husband appreciates all the cooking and cleaning I do, but it's not important to him, and he doesn't help out. I am growing more and more resentful that I can't motivate him to do basic cleaning tasks around the house. It's not like I enjoy cleaning either, but I really want our child to grow up in a nice home. I also had to stop drinking and using all recreational drugs when I got pregnant, and I never started again. My husband still, in my opinion, drinks to excess, and occasionally likes to go out and take drugs with his friends. When he does this, I get very angry with him, and his response is that I have the freedom to take a night off from parenting and do the same if I choose to. I feel like we've really grown apart and have very little in common these days outside of managing a shared household. I don't feel very close to him or emotionally connected. I don't look forward to spending time with him. When we have long periods of time together, like car rides, we don't talk anymore. We each put on headphones and listen to podcasts or audiobooks. In fact, sometimes we'll each independently put on the same podcast, but listen to it separately. When I noticed this, it seemed symbolic of the rest of our lives. We are so separate these days. Our sex life is okay, our finances are in good order, and we get along very well with each other's families. We went to counseling about a year ago, and things improved marginally for a very short time, but we ran out of things to talk about with the counselor, and the improvements disappeared quickly. What do I do? Do I stay in this marriage I feel indifferent to? I miss feeling in love, but I don't want to tear my family apart. In the comments, is your husband bonded with his kid? Does he take them to the park without you and bathe them and tuck them in at night? Also, are you working or are you a stay-at-home mum? It seems like many stay-at-home mothers have trouble finding interesting things to talk about since their world is so small generally. OP says, I work full-time. My husband and I each have very demanding careers. I would say my husband and daughter have a good bond, but I get the impression that parenthood is a lot more work and less fun than he anticipated. I think perhaps he had an overly rosy view of things. He does love her and enjoys spending time with her, but not in the same way that I do. Punk Grifter says, relationships adjust after having a kid. Biological instincts about hearth and home get kicked into overdrive. There seems to be some things that could be done to get closer together. With the house cleaning, since his threshold of cleanliness hasn't changed, but you want more help, maybe you guys can hire a house cleaner to take the load off you. Also, more than just changing levels of cleanliness, having a kid means more cleaning work to do. The laundry of 3, the messes of 3, etc. This isn't just an opinion, there probably is more work that needs to be done. Before kids, date night could happen whenever. After kids, it takes more work to find the time. Figure out how to go on that drive. Make the time to be with each other. If you are listening to the same podcast, make a mini discussion date afterward. The biggest issue is the drugs. The other things are more administrative adjustments, and you guys could easily figure that out. The fact that your needs have changed away from drugs means a larger personality divergence which needs to be looked at. OP says, I think this is getting closer to the crux of my feelings about all of this. The housework, etc. is all problematic, but really, I miss having any kind of closeness. It bothers me a lot that my husband either doesn't notice or doesn't care. Sometimes I schedule date nights into our weekly planner, and he spends the date playing with his phone or just being quiet. We had one good date night that I can remember in the last year. The rest have all been duds that left me feeling even sadder and lonelier than before. I love the optimism in the comments, because, it potentially is salvageable. You guys have been together a lot, you understand each other, you know each other, you've been through so many ups and downs. But you personally, OP, have diverged so hard from where he is right now in his life, and he's not wanting to follow you on that path. Like people were saying in other posts, you gotta do what is best for your child. And right now, it's not the end of the world that dad is a bit dysfunctional, that he's not stepping up and being an amicable co-parent with you, a loving partner like he used to be. Just, even as simple as talking to you, having conversations with you, that those aren't even happening. Jesus. And you've tried therapy. You have tried to make this work. I don't know what is going to get through to him to make him change. An ultimatum, perhaps? But really, I see this most likely just ending in you separating and him learning these things far too late. And now, onto the update. I didn't expect to be posting back so soon, especially because I didn't do anything. But I think my husband was also feeling the distance and the tension between us. Today, I snapped at him over a minor household issue, and he asked to be alone in our office for a while. While he was in there, he reorganized the entire office, a massive project, and took care of filing about a year's worth of paperwork that had just piled up. He paid some bills that were my responsibility out of his personal account. We use his, hers, or ours system for our finances, and he balanced my retirement portfolio, a project I've been putting off for way too long because it stressed me out. And then he went out to pick up some dinner. And over dinner, we talked about a family vacation that we want to take together soon, which he offered to plan and pay for. As soon as he walked out of our house to pick up dinner, I broke down in tears. I think it was just the realization that he has his own way of showing he loves me, and sometimes I get so absorbed in my own thoughts and feelings, and so burdened by the weight of my responsibilities, that I don't even notice how much he does. Anyway, sorry this isn't a more dramatic update. I can see now that my husband and I need to work more on connecting with each other, but we are still both in it to win it. And even though he sucks at showing it sometimes, I know he loves me and is devoted to our family. In the comments, 12 Days Late says, "I'm glad things are looking up for you." I didn't read the earlier post, but have you heard of the book The 5 Love Languages? It basically presents the theory that everyone shows their love one of 5 ways. Languages. And that so many problems in relationships, especially pertaining to he doesn't love me or do anything nice for me, etc., can be helped by understanding your partner's love language. I seriously think both of you should read it and talk about it. I also think you both should consider at least a couple sessions of marital counseling. OP replies, "Thank you. I have actually read the 5 Love Languages book, and really, my husband and I have similar languages, so everything was hunky-dory while we were dating. I think he tends to get in ruts where he starts taking our relationship for granted, and he isn't using any of the love languages, and maybe I do the same thing too sometimes. I think the trick is to just keep trying, keep talking, keep letting each other know how we feel, and not getting swept up in the tides of work and parenting and everything else that can so easily overwhelm and subsume simple acts of love and kindness towards each other." And someone else says, "Side note, I think, or hope, the reason people are assuming you don't work is because you use the term Stepford wife, which to my mind means stay-at-home mom who does nothing but cook and clean and polish her silver all day." And OP says, "That's fair. I guess I overreacted due to all the PMs telling me I should kill myself and my husband should divorce me. Also, this is a problem that I regularly have in real life. Almost everyone my husband and I meet assumes that I don't work. My job is super important to me and a huge part of my identity, so it's hard not to take offense." Always lovely to receive threats like that from people in your inboxes. What a great way to get over the problems in your relationships with people not giving it advice. Instead, just saying that you should just end your life because that'll fix everything. No, it won't. What the hell? Also, the pessimist in me is saying that the husband is doing a patch-up job here, and that once the drinking and the drug use catches up to the relationship itself and the child sees the harmful addictions that, and I'm going to call them addictions because, they are vices, they are bad vices to be using regularly, that's not going to bode well for the child's mental health and perception of good, healthy parents and parenting dynamics. That just entire world of the child's perception of his parents and how that will affect the child in their development. Unless actual, real change is made by both of them in order to correct course, I still don't see the relationship working out. I understand him having this moment of clarity, but she says that he goes in swings of taking her for granted. Who's to say that he's not going to take her for granted again? Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.